Hello again, ladies and gentlemen of the SeemsGoodMagic community. Dave here, and we're back for Stage 2 of our friendly Sealed League. In case you missed the last episode, we'll do a quick recap. We launched a Sealed League, and we built 3 possible decks: the Black-Red Madness, the Blue-Black Spells, and the Black-Green Delirium/Stuff deck. We started off with the Spells deck, which lost its first game in spectacular fashion, and then we rolled it into the Black-Red Madness and ended up winning a decent number of games and going 2-1 overall in the first stage. After that, we added a pack to our pool, and I have a screenshot of that pack over here. So some people in the comment section have given their input and reviewed the pack, and here we are to build our deck for Stage 2. So where I'm going to start is I'm going to start with the deck that we left off with. We have the Black-Red Madness version. This came very close to winning round 1 despite losing the first game with the Blue-Black Spells deck. And then it had a couple of very close games in round 2 and round 3. The deck seemed to perform fairly well. We were able to combo off a few times with Relentless Dead and Diregraph Colossus, as well as the Aristocrat and Skeleton and Relentless Dead Ghoul Steed combo. In one case, Mindrag Demon hit a perfect 4-for-4 when we absolutely needed it, and we ended up winning the game with that. Other than that, you know, the deck has been somewhat consistent. The cards that we opened for Red-Black are a Burn from Within, which immediately finds a place in the deck, probably replacing Reduced to Ashes. A Necropod, which I wasn't interested in playing originally when I first looked at the pack, but after thinking about it and reading a comment in in the comment section, I think this can find a home pretty much in any black-based deck, and we can replace something like the Ghoul Steed or something like that with it. Just give us a little bit more on the top end. And then after that, the cards drop off quite a bit. We got a Grotesque Mutation and a Vampire Noble. And the Vampire Noble may come in, for example, if we cut the Ghoul Steed for the Necropod, let's pretend that we're doing that. Diregraph Colossus at this point has lost a lot of its value. We really only have Relentless Dead and the Crow as zombie cards that trigger or get triggered off of the Colossus. And, the Vampire Noble does have, extra synergy with the Indulgent Aristocrat. So there is that possibility. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of piece this together and take a quick look at it here. So let's cut the Reduced Ashes for Burn from Within. Let's cut a Ghoul Steed for the Necropod. And then decide what the deck looks like. So we haven't really changed the makeup of the deck too much, like I said, except for the losing a zombie to the Diregraph Colossus. We do have an extra Revenant that we had from the original sealed pool that we could bring in as well. Vampire Noble is not that great, to be honest. We would only be playing it for minor synergy, which is what we're playing the Diregraph Colossus for right now, is minor synergy. So my question is the extra point of power over the Diregraph Colossus, plus the extra tokens from the Aristocrat, is that better than a 2/2 for 3 that maybe sometimes, very rarely, is a 3/3, and maybe very rarely makes a handful of 2/2s if you can loop Relentless Dead or something like that, for example. I'm not quite sure what the answer is, but why don't we pretend this is what it looks like. Doesn't really change our mana base at all. We've brought in 2 black cards and 1 red card and cut the same, so this is what the deck would look like. So I'm going to save that, and we may come back to that. The other deck I'm interested in is the Black-Green Stuff / Delirium deck. And when I first built this deck, it felt like it might not be super consistent. I think that was the best way that I would describe it. Farbound Revenants are not terribly great in this kind of shell. We were really leaning heavily on Mindrag Demon or possibly the Dire Swine to get us there. We didn't really have any synergy with the twins. Pale Rider is kind of okay. and I wasn't really interested in kind of this deck. It was missing, the payoff early. I think, Relentless Dead is hard to cast on turn 2, and Pale Rider is card disadvantage most of the time when you're playing it on turn 2. So, but luckily we did open a few really good cards that kind of help smooth out the consistency and upgrade the power level, kind of in the 2 and 3 drop spot here. So again, we have the Necropod, which we'll certainly bring in, probably swapping out for the Ghoul Steed. So I'm just gonna start on that here, I think. And then we opened a Hinterland Logger, a Scavenger, Byway Courier, and I think that's about it, right? Oh, we got the Vampire Noble too, which we don't really care about. Now, one thing you'll notice here is we're not playing the Indulgent Aristocrat Sanitarium Skeleton combo, and that's because most of our vampires are in red. Actually, except for the twins. I think the rest of them are all red. So it really we weren't really abusing it in this deck at all, and it didn't make sense to have a couple of 1-drops that only really comboed with each other in this deck. So, all right, so Necropod in for the Ghoul Steed, which beefs up our top end quite a bit, and then we can start cutting these kind of weaker 2s and 3s that we might not want to play in this deck. We cut the Pale Rider. The Logger replaces the Pale Rider, obviously. Scavenger is an iffy question here. I don't know if I want to play the Scavenger, but we can certainly cut the Colossus at this point, and bring in the Byway Courier. One thing I am looking at here is we're cutting a bunch of black cards and bringing in more green cards, and Relentless Dead becomes very hard to cast when black is a secondary color. So that is something that I could look at doing, is I could bring in the Scavenger for Relentless Dead. But Relentless Dead is pretty good. Mid to late game, it makes a really good blocker, I think, most of the time. So I think I'd be interested in keeping that. And we're going to want some decent amount of black because of Giss's Bidding and Mindrak Demon. And we do have a Warp Landscape and a Deathcap Cultivator that we can use to help our black along the way. So let's kind of see what this looks like really quick. So this gives us a bunch of solid 2-drops, probably not counting Relentless Dead as a 2-drop. We have a fair amount of removal, probably the same amount of removal that we have in the red deck, maybe a little less. We have some pretty good top end with the Mindrak Demon, the Necropod, and the Dire Swine is okay. I'm not sold on the Gloom, but I'm going to play it anyway because 4/4 Trample Hexproof for the Slayer's Plate. Plus, this also helps make sure that Mindrak Demon is not, not a liability. Kind of gives us a little bit of extra oomph there when it comes to Delirium. So I'm kind of torn between these two decks. I think I want to try the black-green for at least one round. So I'm going to fix up the mana here and see what that looks like. We do have a lot of... Oh, actually, that's one thing. I forgot about this. I forgot about the Stoic Builder. So I also am thinking about bringing in the Stoic Builder and cutting one of these Farbog Revenants. If we're going to be binning lands, this, helps hit our swamps. If we put a swamp into the bin, that can be the second one that we need, and it can be another black source potentially for us as well, and it carries a Slayer's Plate really, really, really well. So I think I'm going to cut a Revenant for a Stoic Builder. And we'll probably go, I want to say like 9/7 green to black, and then we have a Warp Landscape that can get black as well, plus a Deathcap Cultivator. So I think this is what I'm going to try, and I just got to figure out the mana, and we're good to go. Yeah, so let's cut 2 swamps. Add in 2 forests. Oops. And that gives us 17 lands. And I really want to play the Slayer's Plate. It hasn't really made an appearance yet, I don't think. But Slayer's Plate on Byway Courier or Stoic Builder or something like that, it would be living the dream. So here's to hoping that we can do that. All right. I'm going to save this, and then we will come back here for the first match of Stage 2, which is round 4, with our 2-1 record. So we'll see you in a few.